Perfect. Teofimo Lopez angles for a Lomachenko clash to land at MSG, writes Jake Donovan of Boxing Scene. Obviously reported earlier this week that Saudi Arabia was interested, that MSG was obviously an option, and those are two different dates. I mean, Gary, I'm not surprised Lopez wants the MSG event or the card at MSG, but thoughts on whether or not Loma will play any sort of A-side, I was going to say prima donna moves, but like that would be kind of harsh. But just A-side moves and say, no, I want to fight in Vegas or something like that.
I mean, he could. Loma's fought in the Garden quite a bit. I think it's going to come down to the money. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you $1.5 million to fight in the Garden, or $4 million to fight in Saudi Arabia. Where do you want to fight? I'll go to Saudi Arabia. Like, I think that's ultimately going to be the difference. I think this fight's going to be in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately. Unless somebody takes some type of moral stand, which I don't see happening, the fight's going to be in Saudi Arabia because it's just there's too much money to put it anywhere else. Especially like the Garden. Like, I mean, how is MSG going to pay a site fee like they would over in Saudi Arabia? It can't.
Yeah, but this could be a network demand. Like,
maybe you get that. Maybe.
It's similar to like not, similar, but like the inverse of what happened with Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, where obviously DAZN wanted it in MSG. They wanted it in New York for all the U.S. media. They didn't. The offset, though, is that they only had to pay a very small licensing fee because it was an overseas event. So they paid, I think it was $4 million, also in that article. L. Highlander, which I assume is a Matchroom fan, saying our title was bullshit and fake news. Just rewind the show, man. Like, it's very easy to just rewind it, listen to us give our take on it, and obviously the news.
Anthony Joshua did say he'd fight Ruiz in Tijuana.
That's true.
And then back out of that.
But digressing back to the topic at hand, I would not be surprised to see ESPN go, no, Loma's been like our prized possession. Because he has been, let's be honest. Not Crawford. It's Tyson Fury, then Loma, then Crawford. For obvious reasons, guys. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I expect ESPN to sort of put the foot down and say, no, this fight's in the Garden. This fight's in at least North America. Even if Loma loses, Teofimo Lopez is potentially our next star from the Tri-State area. We want this fight here. So I expect that, to be honest. Even though Saudi Arabia is going to offer a lot of money, the network can offset costs because of that. The promoter can offset costs because of that. I think you're going to get the network saying, no, we want the long-term play here, which is have this fight on ESPN, have this fight in either MSG or Vegas, and then either Lopez is our next star or Lomachenko continues to be one of our biggest stars in our boxing division.
I agree that's the smart long-term move. I just haven't seen anyone in boxing make smart long-term moves. It's always been, well, recently at least, it's been the short-term play. So this would be reversing that trend. So we'll see.
Highlander, just because I'll do the service. Here it is. You can read the information yourself because you can't read. There you go. So instead of saying fake news, just read the news, and then you're not an idiot. There you go. Leonard in the chat saying, would they even consider it now with the tension in the Middle East at the moment? Obviously, with the current whole, World War III happening, potentially. Yeah, I think they would. Like, business still moves on. Yeah. Even in, especially in war, business continues moving. Plus, Saudi Arabia is not really in, yeah. It's not really the region that we're discussing at this moment with the Iran, Iraq, and U.S. issue. To be honest, it's just not. Gary, thoughts on that? Do you think the current whole Iran, U.S., Iraq issue could play a factor into Saudi Arabia fights, or even like Dubai or UAE fights moving forward for the next year or so?
No, I don't think it'll impact that. It might impact putting fights in Iran, but we're going to put fights in Iran anyway. And even that, I don't know. Like, if the money's right, well, they would still do it. So, no, I don't think that's going to have any major hold on putting fights in anywhere in the Middle East.
For Ben Media saying, it's in North America. No way Bob takes his biggest U.S. show in years to Saudi Arabia. I mean, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom did it, so why not?
Oh, who said that in the chat?
Some guy in the chat for Ben Media. I don't know who that is.
Why not? Like, I mean, if you want to respond in a serious manner, I like to know why you think that's an impossibility.
PSK saying Saudi and Iran do have issues at the moment. They've always had issues. They're different sects of Islam. They've had issues for centuries. That's not a at the moment issue at all. Anyways, moving on. Where were we at? Oh, here we were. Any other points or any other thoughts about Lopez Loma? Where could it end up?
No, did dude ever respond to why Aaron wouldn't put his fight in?
No, they're saying that's the biggest top rank show in years.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much to me either.
It's not, right?
But I wanted to bring up something. I forget who it was in the comment section, but somebody brought up that Loma Lopez could be pay-per-view. I was like, it's a great show and everyone's doing pay-per-view. I want to be very serious about this. Two wrongs don't make a right. I feel like as adults, you should not need to be taught this. Grown-ass boxing fans should know two wrongs don't make a right. So the fact that PBC has been doing a lot of pay-per-views lately, which is not consumer-friendly, doesn't mean it should be replicated by other entities, a la Crawford Khan, which they tried this last year. So no, I don't think Loma Lopez should be pay-per-view, but I do see some fans out there saying that it could be. Any thoughts about if they do make? I know that like there's nothing official, like Top Rank, ESPN. No one is saying that, but just thoughts on: do you think they will try a Loma pay-per-view in 2020, a la Loma Lopez?
I wouldn't rule it out. That's what Aaron wants. I don't think it's an impossibility. If I had to bet, I think it goes on regular, big ESPN. I don't think it's an ESPN pay-per-view, but I think that's what Aaron wants, and he'd be willing to push it off to the end of the year if he thinks he can make it a pay-per-view.
He would marinate it, as they say.
But you're right. No, saying that it's just because PBC makes bad pay-per-views. That's what's called a tu quoque fallacy, a U2 fallacy. Just because you did something, right? Like just because O.J. Simpson got away with murdering his wife doesn't mean anyone else can get. You know what I'm saying? Like just because someone else did it isn't justification.
Hey, he was found guilty in the civil trial. Okay. Digressing though.